got into weed for a little while, and then that went on for too many years, and then went.
Then I don't remember.
Then I went. I've got to stop doing that. This was maybe 15 years ago, and just did what every other bloke did, and bought a 6-pack of whatever.
Yep.
And then I remember the first days going, I don't want to do that weed anymore, but here's some beers. And I remember going, oh man, I just don't want to feel drunk. Like this is. Anyway, I'm getting to a point here.
Yeah, no, go on. I'm just
that this turned into doing hard work, like physical. My days were filled with hard work. Getting home, earning the beer. Yeah.
Right. Then justifying the beer.
Then realising that, mate, I'm spending about $60 a week on this stuff. And then I cottoned on to someone else who was buying casks of Lambrusco for $11.
True.
Mate, years went by of me drinking Lambrusco in a cask. And wow. And I'm glad I stopped doing that.
So am I, mate.
But
no offence.
I still, when you said when anyone says, I want to have a wine, I'll go, yeah, I do love the gear.
Look, I didn't start drinking vino until I was, just about out of my 20s, because prior to that I'd spent 10 years playing live alternate music like every night of the week. And unlike you, man, I never felt that I had to earn it. Right. I felt that I just wanted to get smashed and go on stage and make noise. But my then girlfriend's brother was really seriously into his wine. And that's when I started to take it up, and then met my now ex-wife, and she enjoyed a tipple or 10 as well. And I tend to gravitate towards dysfunctional relationships, I think. But anyway, I digress. They're exciting. They're exciting all the time until it suddenly reaches that point of no return where it becomes.
No. She is
what the fuck am I doing?
I knew she was.
No,
crazy.
but she was probably thinking that about me.
Yeah.
Like, she was a barrister, and I was an ex-rock and roller with a modest criminal record, and
perfect.
I guess ultimately it lost its appeal when clearly I wasn't going to. Right. Change.
That would be really tough.
I mean, I changed. I didn't become a career criminal, but by the same token, I didn't suddenly develop an affection for suits and ties and
$250,000 a year, or whatever.
Yeah,
that's very tough. That'd be very tough. Like, how do you? Oh, you're going to rehearsal again, are you? Like, where is that going to head? That's the.
You're going over to Michael's place to play with cars again? Well, yeah. I don't have a gig until tonight, so. Yeah.
I'm with you. I think music is somewhat of a curse.
It is, man, but it's a great curse.
Great curse to have, but definitely you need to. Sometimes I acknowledge it and go, no, it's what I'm here for. I love it so much.
Totally.
I'm miserable without it.
Yeah.
Once you get on those stages and you have some good times with, or you're in your tribe of bandmates.
Yeah.
And you go through all these ups and downs all the time. Barry's an asshole. Oh, now I love Barry again. Like whatever. But
well, I'm an only child, but I can only assume that element of it, which I went through, especially in my first two bands for 10 years, two independent original bands. It was like four brothers, momentarily loving each other, then split down the middle, hating each other, and then everything in between, plus the excess of booze and all the other attendant. Rock and roll things. But man, I wouldn't swap it for quids, because it was a glorious period where here was this young post-punk psychobilly band from the Gold Coast that weren't great players, but we could really warm up a crowd. And because we were playing music that was at least sort of like familiar, the crowd really embraced it. So we ended up with 10 years of just working with the best bands in the country and from overseas. And, whether it was Bo Diddley or Meatloaf or Twisted Sister or the Fabulous Thunderbirds or any of the chief bands of the day that were left field, the Johnnies, the All-Nighters, Line Spiders, Gurus, Angels, Mentals.
What was this band called?
The first one was called the Ballistics.
Wow.
And we used to live at places like the Playroom and Bombay Rock, and then the next one was called the Bossa Nova Kids. Not my choice of band name, but I was asked to join, and that was cool. But yeah, man, it was just the halcyon days of post-punk Aussie pub rock.
Yeah.
And the Gold Coast was just chockers to the bloody nostrils with gigs.
Yep.
From
Bombay.
Cooley from Cooley Tweed right through to the northern end of the Gold Coast, and hunters, whoever, everybody wanted to come to the Goldie to play.
Yeah.
And 5-6 nights a week, you could take your choice of who you wanted to go and see.
Yeah.
And that shit's just gone. I feel really sorry for young bands that have to go through so much to even get themselves a gig on a bill with a band with a big profile.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh yeah, that band, they'll kill it. Let's get them.
Yeah, you're right, mate. My sister is 5 years older, so I remember clearly we came from Brisbane and we were on holidays in Chevron, the Chevron building.
Yep.
And I was 12, so she was 17.
Yeah.
She was going out to see Madness, and supporting Madness were
Strange Tenants or the All-Nighters.
Yeah, something like that. And only the 2 days before, because we were there for 7 nights, were Hoodoo Gurus and just these names I remember looking at my older cousins and everyone going, wow, this place is buzzing.
It was a golden era, man. It really was. And
I question where they get it all wrong, like obviously scenes and music changes.
Just shit changed. I think the advent of Doof Doof in clubs in cahoots with the ever increasing onslaught of good quality Eckie and that sort of thing back then probably killed it a bit, but it also coincided with just that in Queensland, that great tradition of, if it's old, we're going to knock the fucking thing down and get rid of it. Yeah. So the Bellevue or the Playroom or the whatever ultimately ended up, the Playroom should have been listed as a national treasure, for God's sake, a heritage site. Should never have been knocked down.
Yeah.
And what's there now? Fucking car park.
Yeah.
Good call, Gold Coast City Council. The most self-interested, spineless bunch of arse lickers. Consistently, though, only over the last 40-odd years.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, where did it go wrong? Obviously, there was a group of people that just didn't grow up with listening to music. Really tough stuff, mate. So tell me about what's the big gig you remember in support? So, I got a story for you, okay?
Yeah, go.
All right. So, we did a gig at the Playroom, and it was just before. It was the year before they closed, and the writing was on the wall because we were looking around. We played there for years.
That's when Archie Cox was looking after the joint and trying to do everything possible to keep it open.
Yeah, it was Beverly that was the lady that ran it forever.
Bev, Bev and her whole family.
Right.
Carnell, Beryl Carnell, actually.
Yep,
Sorry, not Bev. Beryl Carnell had it with her husband Claude since it was built.
Yep.
I actually went to school with her oldest son, who wasn't very – he was the son that was clearly offended by the vulgarity of rock and roll, so he went the other way. Okay. But, mate, they had it from day dot where it used to have sort of like swing acts and that sort of thing in the 50s, and then
they'd play out on the outside as well.
Yeah, and then JOK and all of the Aussie bands from the 60s and 70s started to come, and then by the late 70s and all through that glorious period of the early through to mid late 80s, man, it was just it was a classic, stinky old, world-class rock and roll venue. So whether it was LL Cool J or Mudhoney or anywhere in between, they'd all go there to play. Yeah.
And it was 2 levels. You had everything. Yeah, everything was set classic. Up. A great backstage. I remember the backstage upstairs.
Live there, man. Sticky carpet, all of that sort of all the stuff that you want.
Here's the story that it's a rock and roll story. I'm not going to ask you for one after this, but this is what I'm thinking. Because this is all about, storytelling, right? But there was we played, the band then was Bullrush, right? I can't remember who we were supporting on this night, but it was a great gig. And the backstage room, which we've been in 100 times, was destroyed. The walls were kicked in everywhere, and there was all these marks on the roof. And the sound guy told me, that I said, "Why? What happened here?" He said, "Oh, Screaming Jets were here last night."
Oh, Dave,
And they're not. Yeah. Well, here's Dave's story.
His brother's a cop, you know.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry, go on.
Pity he wasn't a cleaner, because the marks on the wall, if you remember, at the end of the room, there was the toilet there,
Yeah,
and the door was off the hinges.
Yep.
The place had been trashed, and I'm not even saying this is true, but we were there the next night. Screaming Jets are never allowed to play back here. Why? Well, Dave Gleason went nuts, right? It was all having rock and roll fun.
Yep.
And those marks are where he did a poo in his hand and threw it across the room, and it was clearly just this poo skid across the light.
Man, handling your own fecal matter. I think that's...
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
not down with that,
I'm
man.
not,
I'm not down with that.
I've never done it.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure I've never done it, and I've changed nappies. I still won't. Yeah, but you know.
Yeah, that's a new slant on life, isn't it? Once you do your first nappy. I did my daughter's first ever poo. The one in hospital, you know, the big one that comes out like deep black, like something from the primordial depths of history, and it's suddenly been ejected from your child's anus.
Which is technically the wife's.
Well, indeed. There's a special name for that first poo, but I did that one. Yeah. And, I had to brace myself, but I became quite adept at the whole nappy thing, man. I just hold her cute little ankles up and then just do the whole thing one-handed, and job's a good one.
But do you remember any...
my rock and roll story?
Yeah, or just something that you just pops in your mind.
Look, the first... In all the years I've played, there's been... And I guess this is the same with people all over the world that have been seriously into their music and had that sort of the blessing of doing it with really good people over a protracted period of time. But probably the most... the one that stands out for all the wrong reasons was in my first band, psychobilly band, Big Quiffs, you know, Stray Cats meets Ramones sort of stuff. We got given the support of Twisted Sister. Oh, yeah. You know, like, where the fuck is your head at?
Wow.
Twisted Sister, bunch of tight-wearing fucking sort of heavy metal with, you know, like, not exactly an ideal match.
Was this when we're not gonna take it?
The whole thing was brand new.
Wow,
this is like 80,
big crowd.
85, 84?
Yeah.
Late 84 or something. So anyway, playing at Old Festival Hall in Brisbane. So there's 3,500 headbangers in there wanting nothing other than Twisted Sister. Firstly, we'd had a smoke in the band room before we go on, and we got lost backstage. It was like fucking Spinal Tap, seriously, and it was like a maze, man. We were lost backstage, and eventually we were literally yelling out, and somebody came and got us and took us onto stage. So anyway,
rock and roll.
We go, man. It was so rock and roll, and so we got onto stage, and in that band, it was a three-piece. There was bass, drums, and guitar, and then I was the singer. So we used to open with the Munsters theme.
Cool.
So anyway, I'm standing side of stage and like really fast. So anyway, song finishes. 3,000 metalheads simultaneously, fuck off, fuck off, fuck off. And I've gone, oh no, this is going to be unpleasant. So I've come on stage to the sort of like the even more fuck off, fuck off. So then we did Bebop Alula, which we used to start the Bebop Alula, she's, and then build it. And again, last verse is about 400 miles an hour and thrashing it. At the end of that, there was about half the room going fuck off, and then the others were just going, yeah.
Right.
And then we did the next song, which was one of ours. And at that point, man, I remember looking down into the audience, and this dude was, because you can only see the first couple of rows, and this guy was standing up trying to yell something, and his mate pulled him down and said, and I could see him mouthing something along the lines of "Shut up, they're okay" or something. Or that's what I envisioned he was saying. But yeah, man, that's the classic getting lost backstage in Festival Hall, supporting Twisted Sister.
Yeah. Did they talk to you?
No, man, no. But their road crew loved us because at the end, that was our first experience with top flight US road crew. Before that, we'd worked with Meatloaf
Angels
and Bo
got-
Diddley
oh,
and a whole
right.
bunch of other international acts, George Thorogood and that sort of shit, which were all fairly low-key stuff. But that was our first experience of top-flight US road crew where they